Legends, welcome back to another team preview from the Ruck Infringement Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joey the Prophet, and to join me today, we're going to be talking about the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. It's the one and only Adrian from the BumpOut Podcast. How are you, buddy?
Good, brother. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure, mate. Doing my first podcast solo without my other half, so it's going to be good, mate. How are you?
Mate, I am good. It's a pleasure to have you on. Mate, do we say the better half? I don't know if we can say that.
Look, I think I don't think we can, mate. Let's be honest here. He is the better half.
I know you both well, and I love you both, so I'll say you're both the better halves. Mate, we are going to talk your Bulldogs today. It's going to be fantastic. So let's crack straight in. But we are going to talk some ins and outs for 2026. Do you want to take us through the gains and losses, mate?
Mate, there's actually not too many, which I still haven't determined whether that's a good or a bad thing, mate. We start off gains: Sean O'Sullivan, Fletcher Baker, Gordon Chan Kum Tong, and Leo Thompson, the big one there, mate. A little bit of are you keen for Leo Thompson this year or what?
I am. I think he's probably obviously the best of that bunch that you just mentioned. I think he brings it's really hard because obviously he played at Newcastle, and we know Newcastle isn't probably not the best breeding ground for footballers. I mean, Joey Johns was immortal, but apart from that, but look, I look at Leo Thompson. I go, the guy's got a future. He's a big body. He's probably what the Dogs need. You know, the Dogs have been criticised in the past for small forwards. So Leo sort of breaks that mold. But what do you think, mate? Are you excited?
Very excited, mate. Very excited. Like you said, he's come from Newcastle, which, you know, from a forwards point of view, probably not the greatest start to your career. But look, going to the Dogs, I just think the mentality that he's going to get, he's going to adapt at the Bulldogs. I think that's really, it's going to push him to the next level. Like, we've seen him play for New Zealand. We've seen him along the likes of, you know, James Fisher-Harris and Moses Leota, and I think he can. Yeah. I think he's the trajectory is looking good.
Yeah, for sure. I also really like your signing of Sean O'Sullivan. I know he probably doesn't get a lot of game time, but the guy's been around. He's been around the Traps. He's played at the Chooks. He's played at Penrith. He's played at the Dolphins. He's played at some big clubs where he's played with some really good players. And I think bringing that sort of experience to a Galvin, even a Burton, I think will be really good. So I'm excited for that. And then Gordon Cantum Yong, or however you say it, it's just a fun name to say. So he's a good one to have too, mate.
Yeah, I think so, mate. With the six-person bench also coming in now, so I think you may see Sean O'Sullivan feature a little bit more than we anticipated.
Yeah, for sure. Mate, any losses in that lineup?
Reid Marnie, big one, off to the Cowboys. Yes. Toby Sexton, Curtis Moran, Drew Hutchison, and Luke Smith. He was just a utility, but he's got onto the Bears eventually. So Reid Marnie, probably the biggest one out of that, mate. I thought he was, you know, he just screamed Bulldogs to me. I've always loved Reid, and I'm still a fan of him, even at the Cowboys, to be fair. But yeah, mate, just sad to see him go, but excited for the future.
It was a weird one, wasn't it? You know, he came over from Parramatta with so much promise, and everyone said Reid Marnie's probably the face of this Bulldogs team. He's going to go well. And then just last year, like, Bailey Hayward has been on the scene for a couple of seasons now, but last year, Hayward just looked like he had the upper hand. He was the favourite in that hooking position, even that utility role, and he just took over. So look, it is a big loss for the Dogs. I think it's a good pickup for the Cows. It got him at, you know, bottom dollar essentially. So I think it'll be really good for them. But mate, that other big loss you talk about, you know, Drew Hutchinson, look, he's been around a little bit, played at my mighty Chooks, mate, before going to your Doggies. Not much of a loss there, I say, to Drew. That's no disrespect to Drew, but look, you know, I think that's just weeding out the fringe players for you. Yeah,
I think so, mate. Well, there's only 30 spots in the top 30, so, you know, you got to have as much quality as you possibly can. So not too bad there.
Exactly, mate. All right, let's jump into our 2025 review for the Doggies. Now, look, not a bad season in terms of where they've been over the past couple of years. Finishing third, so top four is a fantastic result. 38 competition points, 120 positive for points differential. Mate, a good year for the Dogs.
Look, I think we just ended with a sour taste in our mouth, really. Like, we were bounced out in the finals, and if you have a look at I suppose when I looked at the year, I broke it up into a few parts, you know, round one to Origin and then after Origin. So, you know, before before Origin, we were the best team in the comp. We had defensive resilience. Our attack was flowing. We actually won 6 in a row, and we ended with 10 wins, and we only lost 2 until round 12. But then after that, mate, from round 14, we won 6 and lost 8. So, yes, the draw toughened up, but I just think there was a clear lack of cohesion in attack afterwards that sort of coincided with the chopping and changing that I suppose all the Bulldogs fans were still frustrated with. But hopefully this year that doesn't really happen.
Mate, I wanna pick your brain a little bit because obviously you're a devout Bulldogs man, and I've known you for a couple of years now. But mate, the Lockie Galvin saga. Now, obviously, it was talked about all year in 2025. That was all the news headlines read. But did it affect the team as much as us fans were led to believe?
Yes and no. I think. Like Lockie Galvin, I think he's a talent, and I especially for this year, mate. I genuinely think that he's going to come out and shut all the critics up this year. But last year, I think whether it was Lockie Galvin or it was any other 7, I think changing your 7 at that time of the year was ultimately the wrong decision. So whether it was Lockie or not, I think that probably we would have had the same outcome.
Yeah, look, I tend to agree. I think it doesn't matter what team you are. If you're chopping and changing in the middle of the season, you're always going to have mixed results. So, look, not a great finish to the year, but for the Doggies standards, you've gone up every year. You know, a couple of years ago, you were 15th. You know, then you moved into 6th position, now 3rd. You know, it as you guys say, it's only up from here. So hopefully for Doggies fans, a big 2026. But, mate, we're going to have some fun now. We're going to jump into some SuperCoach. Now, you and I both play SuperCoach quite frequently. I want to say that we're good at it. I wouldn't say we're the best of the best, but we're going to go through a couple of Bulldogs players, some price points. I want you to let me know if they're in your thoughts, if they're in your team, whether we should avoid. Mate, let's start off with the man himself, Jacob Kiraz, centre wing, the most expensive Bulldog in the game, $746K. Currently in my team, but I have heard there's injury news at the moment.
When hasn't Jacob Kiraz had an uninterrupted preseason? So I think the proof is in the pudding, though. Like I think I even said it last year. I think he'll be the highest averaging centre wing this year, quite easily. He's probably going to get that. If Lomax doesn't end up at the Storm, I'm thinking he's going to get his Origin debut. Look, $746K, you are paying a premium, but for me, absolute must-have. First guy picked in my team.
Yeah, I was pretty similar, mate. I just think this year I've gone a bit away from – I used to go very cheap in my centre wings, and this year I want to look at some premium options down there. I can probably go light on in my halves because there are a lot of cheap options this year. But, mate, we'll jump into the second option I got here, Jacob Preston. Now, second row, $684K. We saw what he did last year. I think it was 11 tries in 22 games or something like that. It was pretty incredible for a second rower. But, mate, thoughts? You got Preston in your team?
Preston is also on my must-haves list. I don't know if it could be Bulldogs bias, but I personally don't think so. Look, he's a try-scoring back rower, right? He's going to get through his work. On a bad week, he's going to score you 50 in base, mate. On a bad week. If he gets over for a double, we've seen him score a hat-trick a couple of times. That's 120, 130, 140, and we've left you in the dust with Preston in our team. So I think he's as close to a must-have in the back row as well. But we need to think about balance in the SuperCoach team. So can you fit him and have, like you said, your centre wings are going to be premium options this year. So that's also to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think anyone that's picking Preston, I'm not going to say no to that. I think that is a fantastic option in your second row. Obviously, again, the second row stacked with cheap options this year and some mid-ranges like Dave Fafita, who's absolutely killing it. So, look, think about your game plan first. Think about what you want to do. We haven't even seen a ball kicked yet, but we will very soon. Mate, I want to go down a little bit to a guy who's a great footballer, hasn't really set the world alight in SuperCoach, but your captain, Stephen Crichton. Now, centre wing, $600K. If he gets a fullback position, which is being tossed around a little bit, are you interested?
If he were to get that role and I could confirm that he was goal kicking, I think he's a sniff. He, like you said, he hasn't been a renowned SuperCoach player, but I think he has the potential to be like $600K for a fullback in your centre wing. Yeah. If he also gets that duel later on in the year, I think it might be one that you're going to want.
Yeah, I really like that. I'm hoping he gets it. I really do. I want to move down to the next guy here. I've got Max King. Now, I pick Max King most years in SuperCoach and in NRL fantasy because he's just such a workhorse. He just gets through so much. Last year, he got a couple of meat pies as well, which helped. But, mate, at 583K, I mean, look, you could do worse than Max King.
Absolutely, you could do worse than Max King, mate. We've all been in there. We've had Royce Hunt sit on the bench. We've had Franklin Pele. So that's bottom of the bottom, right? So we can only go up from there. Max King, look, is he going to get you 120? Most likely not. But I guarantee you he won't give you anything less than a 50, 60 average, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you pair him with a Payne Haas and you've got them in your front row, I think you're not going to do too poorly at all. The next player I wanted to touch on was Matt Burton, mate. Now, 5'8", 557K. Not many 5'8s I'm interested in this year, but I actually am interested in Burton if he keeps that role.
If he keeps the role, as he has Viliame Kikau on his outside. If you have Stephen Crichton out the back of that shape, and Bronson Xerri, who just quietly I think is in for a huge year. He has so many attacking options outside of him. And then you take into consideration, mate, he's a ball running half. So if you have all those options, that's try assists. If he runs himself, that's a line break. That's a try, mate. That's a 27-point play. He's an option. But again, I just think that one, there is a little bit of bias in that. Looking from a professional standpoint, look, semi-professional, I would say Burton is a fade.
Yeah. Look, it's a hard one, isn't it? Again, for me, it's all based on where he plays. If they move him to the centres or fullback, as they were going to try as well, I just can't get on it there. Mate, Lockie Galvin. Now, man, we touched on before, probably his first full preseason. Well, it is his first full preseason with the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. 555K at halfback. Any interest in Galvin?
555K with Jacob Preston and Stephen Crichton on his edge, he could genuinely have 20-plus try assists this year. And that's probably, coming from a humble point. I just think he's going to, like you said, full preseason, developing combinations, origin players around him. And, I think he's in for a big year. And SuperCoach, 555K, that's a steal.
Absolutely, especially at halfback. We've got a couple of cheap options this year. You've obviously got your premiums in Cleary and Hines, but if you're looking for an option that is at mid-range, 550 is really, really good for a player of Galvin's caliber, who we know is most likely going to keep his spot. His job security is pretty safe. I don't think they're going to bring a guy in like they did last year and then can him. So, I think he's pretty safe there. Mate, I want to move down the list a little bit. I want to jump into some mid-ranges. Now, one that I want to talk about, and you mentioned his name before, but Bronson Xerri, mate, centre wing, 509K. If he is going to have a season like you're predicting, is he going to have a good SuperCoach season as well?
Well, I think that's just going to go hand in hand with scoring a shitload of tries. So
yeah, very nice.
He's settled into the system now. We're going to probably, if you can cast your mind back to when we saw him in a Sharks jersey, young 19-year-old, fast as anything. I think that this year is a year that Serrato just thinks, you know what, it's time now. He's come back. He's earned his stripes. Yep. It's time for us to get him back to that X factor center.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I don't have him at the moment, but mate, you've got the goosebumps. You got the hair standing up on my arms here, so I may have to bring him in. Mate. Mate, we moved down the list. Let's talk Bailey Hayward. Now, he's getting that hooking role, or as we're led to believe, 343K. Very, very cheap if he is the starting hooker, mate. Any interest for you?
Not for me. Only because the other options that you have in the hooking department. Like you got Reed Miney, you're only going to pay another 70K. You're going to have an 80-minute hooker who's proven. And Brandon Smith, I think, is going to be in 99% of teams. So just hard to fit him in. In another world, maybe. Maybe that's the way that you go. But I have seen him have some very, very low scores, even in 80 minutes. So I don't think so. Not for me.
Yeah. Look, I prefer seeing him at that lock position. I really liked what he did when he played a bit of lock last year. Mate, moving down into some other cheap options. Not too many to talk about cheap-wise, but one I do want to mention, because we are hearing that he might be a sniff to play this year. Mitch Woods, mate, halfback, 201K. Now, if Mitch Woods lands the starting halfback role, surely there's some interest there.
I say yes, but again, options, man, options.
Yeah.
Halfback is cheapy central this year. Like,
Absolutely.
How do you go away from guys like Ethan Sanders, Daniel Atkinson?
Yeah.
If he had landed the starting spot from round one, I think a lot of guys would consider him. I'm not too sure if he goal kicks, but I don't think he's going to be taking it off either Matty Burton or Crichton. So that would sort of appeal to me a little bit more if he was a goal kicker. But yeah, again, another one. I don't think so. Well, what do you think?
There's no interest for me at the moment, only because I have those boys you mentioned. I have Ethan Sanders on my bench. I'm actually starting. Well, actually, I have gone a premium option in my halfback to start in Hines, but I do have Ethan Sanders as my backup, and I just think, I don't know. As you said before, if he starts from round one, look, he's going to make cash either way. He's going to make cash whether he's sitting on your bench or not. So if you do need to go that play, if you want to go a play where you just want to make cash from some cheapies, throw him in. But just remember, there are other options. You don't want to stack your team with too many of one team, especially with buys and how the schedule is. So, yeah, a bit of an avoid for me. But, mate, that's it for the players that I've got. Anyone else you want to touch on SuperCoach-wise?
SuperCoach-wise, I think maybe another cheapie, Finau Latu.
Oh, yes.
So I believe he just received an injury for about a month. So we're not really going to see him too much in trials, but I have heard that he'll be fine to go to Vegas. So if he's going to Vegas, surely he's a chance to play. Will there be minutes there? I think he is a bit of a wrecking ball, though. So I think it's probably going to be short, sharp stints. But we know what comes with short stints. It's tackle breaking. It's offloads. So he's an option as well. He's bottom dollar as well. So
yeah, absolutely. He's 201K. 201K, second row. So, yeah, not a bad option there. If he does land a bench spot and he's playing front row, hopefully a bit of dual position would be nice as well. But, yeah, look, there's some great options if you are going down the Bulldogs route in SuperCoach. Don't forget, you can check out our Ruck Infringement podcast comp that is running. Of course, you can use the league code 693809. Join us. Boys, do you have a code, a comp running yet?
We do have a comp running. I'll just quickly load the app.
Yeah, grab your code, and we'll drop both codes in the description as well. Make sure you do check out both. It's going to be really, really good. See if you can take on Adrian and Hayden. Not too hard in that comp.
Look, you're basically going to be up against me, unless Hayden does take a little bit of a wild approach. So if everything that he does hits, mate, he could be leading the comp very, very early. Mate, our code is 967912.
Beautiful. Love that. So we'll drop both of those in the description. If you do want to jump in one or jump in both, feel free. We've, of course, sponsored by great friends at SC Rings, the best championship rings going around. So check them out, SC Rings on social media. All right, mate, let's jump into some players to watch for 2026. Mate, lead us off. Who have you got for this year?
It's actually one of the guys that we just had a conversation about, Bronson Xerri. Settled into the system again, pretty much the same reasons as to why I think he may be relevant in SuperCoach is basically going to be the reason why I think he's just going to be the one to watch. I think out of all of our backs, like we've seen Carraz, we know that he's solid. Crichton, we know he's an Origin player. I think Bronson Xerri will win Centre of the Year this year at the Dally.
Wow, that's huge. Yeah. Love that call. That is massive. Mate, for me, I'm going the big bopper, Leo Thompson. I think he comes with some really good pedigree. You spoke about the New Zealand, the representative honours before, and I think having that experience with players like Fish and Moses Leota, we know what those guys have done at Penrith. I think Thompson comes over and becomes one of the premier front rowers in the comp. I think he's really, really set for a great season at the Dogs and a great couple of seasons at the Dogs. Sort of like when James Graham joined the club, you know, and he became the British Bulldog and everyone loved him. What he did there was fantastic. So, yeah, can't wait to see. Obviously, in a bit of a different mold, a bit younger, but, yeah, I think Leo Thompson for me, mate.
Definitely, mate. Look, Leo Thompson, let's hope that he can even become, I suppose, the half of a player of what James Graham was and he'll still be a success.
Yeah, look, absolutely. It would be fantastic to see. One can only hope. Again, we do not know what 2026 will bring. But speaking of 2026, mate, and this is where your bias can come in, let's jump into our ladder finish. Where have you got the Dogs finishing this season?
Look, I've had many sleepless nights, right, thinking about this. I know I've had the pressure. I'm in the big leagues now. I'm on the Ruck Infringement podcast. I'm thinking Bulldogs, taking out bias, I'm thinking they're going to land in the top 4. They're going to be 4th.
Nice. Very nice. I like that a lot. Mate, I've tossed and turned with it as well, sleepless nights thinking about your Dogs. Where am I going to put them this year? Do you know, originally I thought that they would be in the bottom half of the top 8, but now I've actually moved it up, and it was based on when I heard the other day, I heard Willie Mason talking a bit on the Levels podcast about a player that took on Tupanua in training the other day. He didn't give the name. I don't know if it was Finau Latu, who you were talking about, but he said it was a young guy, took him on and actually floored Tupanua. And Tupanua, he hits hard, man. He's a solid dude. And then Tupanua kept winding him up, and this young gun just kept running over the top of him. And I went, okay, the Dogs are getting some size about them. They're here to play. So hearing that, I actually moved them up. I've got them about 5th at the moment. So it'd be really interesting to see if we're pretty close, 4th and 5th there. It'd be really interesting to see if they can hold that. I think if Galvin can be uninterrupted and put everything that happened at the West Tigers behind him, don't worry about 2025. If he can take this team and control it, I think the Dogs go a long way. So.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, mate. And I watched the same video, mate. And I just have a sneaking suspicion that it's Finau Latu and Mace has been told, I think, from someone at the Bulldogs, mate, don't mention any names because we want to keep this guy under wraps for a bit because the comp's going to know he's coming.
Oh, yeah. And if he hits the way they said he hit, oh, my God, it's going to be massive. Well, I love it. 4th and 5th there, mate. Before we finish up, we'll do some last words. I want you to fire up the fans for 2026, mate. What can you tell the Doggies fans?
Doggies fans, we need to stay loyal. We are the best fan base in the NRL, and we need to stay that way. We need to show everyone why we are the big dogs, and the boys will do the hard yards on the paddock, mate. Let's finally win a finals game. Come on. We can do it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, look at that. The hairs are standing up. Oh, mate, that is goosebump stuff. How can I follow up from that? I'd just say, look, as a neutral fan, not a Doggies fan, but I'll just say up the Doggies because I really like what I've seen from them over the past couple of years. There's only improvement. If you're a Doggies fan, get down to a core stadium, get down to Belmore, support your team, get out there, just, put the fire bombs away. We don't want any of that. But get down there, support your team as loud as you can, hit the drums. It's going to be a great year for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. But that is all we have time for on our Bulldogs preview this week. Don't forget to check out our great friends at the Corner Post, of course, sponsors of ourselves and the BumpOut podcast. Head over to the Corner Post at Westfield, Liverpool. Check them out. Julie, Ben, and Alana have all of your sporting needs covered. So check them out on social media at the Corner Post. All right, until next time, I'm Joey. That's Adrian. Be good.